There are so many games out there. Between my accounts on Steam, Humble Bundle, and GOG, I could probably go online right now and grab dozens of games for dirt cheap. Even as one of the youngest industries in entertainment, the game market is huge, meaning that every genre is packed to the brim with titles. While big platinum developers are pushing out huge RPGs and first-person shooters, indie devs are supplying just as many puzzle platformers, survival horrors, and avant-garde genre breakers. In a market like this, the games that really stand out aren't the ones that create something solid and stable, but the ones that really push the boundaries and try and progress their art form. Enter Jamestown, a mid-2011 release on PC. Created by Final Form Games, this is a game that dared to tackle an almost ancient genre and put a unique spin on it. Shoot 'em ups date back to some of the very earliest games. Galaga, Space Invaders, the Ride and Arcade series, and more come to mind when you think shoot 'em ups. And because of the consistent themes and design choices, some have even come to call the genre space shooters. So in this classic staple of the video game industry, what does Jamestown do to set itself apart?
Where to begin with Jamestown? Well, I guess a good place to start is how I first experienced this game. It was included in Humble Bundle 4 alongside a great lineup of Super Meat Boy, Bit Trip Runner, and Cave Story Plus. Naturally, I picked up the bundle for the big namers and didn't really give this one a second thought. Months later, I decided to deliberately pick a title in my library that I knew nothing about and just play it. I was lucky to have chosen Jamestown. Judging solely from the name, I expected some kind of dark survival horror game set in Jamestown, Virginia. As soon as the title screen opened up, I realized I had no clue what I was getting myself into. Jamestown is set in an alternate universe where the New World isn't North America, but Mars instead. It's an odd thing initially, but once I got going, I immediately fell in love. You play as Walter Raleigh, and after a brief exposition, you're dropped into a battlefield of colonial crops alongside warring redcoats and Martians. It's so cool. Although it sounds way out there, the story and setting works so well because they never try too hard to sell you on the concept. Much in the way that Star Wars A New Hope just drops you into a fully formed universe and expects you to accept it and catch up, Jamestown gives you the here and now of the plot and leaves it at that. Each of the 5 levels is its own set piece, and you're presented with a constantly evolving backdrop and enemy selection. Because this is a shoot 'em up, the plot wasn't my main focus when playing this game initially, and the devs understood that by not having the story take itself way too seriously. It's worth paying attention the first few times through, but if you're not into it, you aren't forced to watch the cutscenes. The whole plot is given in old, super Star Wars-esque text and picture segments after each level, and the art really reflects well on the 16-bit style of the whole game. To back up the solid levels is a wonderful soundtrack. It's rare to hear such thematic music come from a shoot 'em up, but Francisco Cerda nailed it. The colonial era is a seldom visited locale in gaming, and the music fits the fantastical space-age vibe without sacrificing any of the period-related elements. Each level gets a song unique to it, and none of them miss the mark. Jamestown has 5 difficulty settings ranging from normal up through difficulty, legendary, and divine all the way to judgment. The great dynamic of these selections is that the later levels of the game can't be played on the lowest difficulties. In order to unlock the 3rd level, you need to beat level 2 on difficult, and in order to unlock the last level, you need to beat the 4th level on legendary. This makes the start of the game accessible for anybody, but leaves the end to players who are dedicated enough to learn how to play on a harder difficulty. Alongside this is a system that's simple on the outside, but surprisingly complex once you dive into it. Unlike many games of this style, Jamestown has no upgrades to be obtained during each level, and instead you're given 4 ships with different abilities to choose from. No one ship is the best out of them, and they all bring an interesting mechanic to the table. Beam is the most basic of the bunch. You shoot a wide spread of mid-damage shots as your main weapon, and a high-damage single-target beam as your alternate. Your speed drops significantly when using the beam weapon, so knowing when to use it is invaluable to playing the ship effectively. Charge is my favorite ship in the game. The main fire is nothing impressive, but you slowly charge a ball of energy in front of you over time, and using the alt fire you send it slowly bowling over everything in its path. Letting the ball reach max size is a great way to dish out incredible amounts of damage, as it can hit the same target multiple times. This ball can also go through terrain that would block other weaponry and continues to move forward until it goes off screen. Gunner is a ship with a very high skill cap. The main fire shoots crescent-shaped shots and bullets straight forward, but while holding the alt fire, the crescents move to aim in the direction you're traveling. This means that you can be shooting in any direction you want and gives a ton of versatility. In level 3 and especially level 5, this ability is a godsend, and in the right hands, this is possibly the most useful ship. My one gripe about this ship is that there's no way to aim the alt fire without moving in that direction. In the bullet hell-esque levels that this ship shines on, that's the difference between kill and being killed. I'm not too upset about it because I'm not sure if it's a flaw or a design choice. I don't have too much to say about the last ship, Bomber. The main fire is weak, and the alt fire makes the main fire's bullets explode. It sounds cool, but the situations in which it's useful are few and far in between. You may have noticed a few other ships being shown. These are from the Gunpowder, Treason, and Plot DLC that was added to the game. Gunpowder is a cool risk and reward centered ship. Over time, you generate gunpowder barrels that spin around the ship. They can be stored to shoot extra bullets for more damage over time, or launched with the alt fire to deal mass explosive damage. Treason isn't as useful as I'd like it to be, but it's a fun ship to use. Piloted by Guy Fawkes himself, this ship deals out medium damage with the main gun and can sacrifice move speed to charge up homing missiles. The higher the charge, the more missiles and the more damage they do. Ghost comes as a close second place for favorite ship in the game. By default, it shoots 3 high damage streams in a wide angle, but when the alt fire is pressed, a ghost of the ship is left behind, shooting 1 torrent forward and a high damage cone backwards. The main ship's weapon then becomes a sword that deals incredible damage but puts the player very close to danger. Alt firing again moves the ghost's position, and double alt firing returns the ghost to the main ship and switches the weapon back. This ship is so dynamic and adds so much possibility to how you approach some of the tougher situations in the game. Aside from the alternate fire, every ship comes equipped with the Vaunt ability. Whenever you destroy enemies, they leave behind nuts and gears that charge up your Vaunt meter. When activated, you gain a temporary shield that absorbs all incoming projectiles. Along with that, you get a damage increase and ×2 to the score you gain from killing enemies. The interesting thing about Vaunt is that you can reactivate it while it's still active to gain a second, smaller and shorter lived shield and get a bonus from the time it was active. If you let it run out on its own, you don't get the second shield, but you get a bigger bonus payout in your score to compensate. This adds a great risk versus reward system within the combat, rewarding players that live dangerously with a massive score boost, while also providing safety from death by sacrificing that boost. Now, in an arcade style game like this, usually dying isn't too much of a problem, but despite the continue screen every 3 deaths, you're only allowed 3 credits per level, meaning that 9 deaths and it's game over for good. This means that, unlike a real arcade, you can't buy your way to the end of the game with enough continues, ensuring that your survival holds a bit more weight to it. On top of all these things, Jamestown has plenty of quality of life additions to it. There's a shop in the game where you can buy add-ons with ducats you earn by playing the main game. These range from difficult challenge levels to the ability to play the Gauntlet mode, which is every level in a row on 3 credits. There's a great spread of achievements, from easy and quick ones to ones that you have to be a true completionist to dare to achieve. For example, the achievement Final Form, in which you complete the Gauntlet on Judgment difficulty without taking a single hit. On the technical side, keyboard, mouse, and controller are all supported to fit any playstyle you may have. Personally, it's all about the controller for me, and because of this support, there's an option for 4-player local multiplayer. Unfortunately, there's no online option, but hey, maybe in Jamestown too?
Jamestown is great. Phenomenal even. As far as shoot 'em ups go, I've never played one that pulled me in and kept me coming back again and again and again. When I played this game again to capture footage for the video, I found myself wanting to go back in and play the game more and more, just so I can capture more footage and play more and show you how versatile and awesome all the ships and levels are. I can't recommend this one enough. As the first and currently only game by Final Form, it's an incredible debut title. For 10 bucks, this game is a steal. You can pick up the bundle with the DLC and the soundtrack on Steam for 15, which is more than worth it for the added ships, challenge levels, and even secret tracks on the OST.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more in the future, hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss my next video. Also, check out my game design show, Levelhead, right here in the annotation, and check out some of my other game reviews while you're at it. This has been Sunder, and I'll see you next time.